Very good evening and a very good afternoon and a very good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Mark Lazanowski, and I am your host tonight here at the open house of Mount Allison University. The room is still filling up with attendees, so we'll give everyone a moment or two to make their way into the room. As everyone enters, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge where we are tonight. So yes, we are in Sackville, New Brunswick, and we're also gathering tonight here on the lands that are traditional unceded territory of the Maliseet and Mi'kmaq people. And this territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship that the Maliseet and Mi'kmaq people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. So it's in that spirit of peace and friendship that we gather here for all of our activities at Mount Allison University, whether they're here on our Sackville campus or here in the virtual realm. So a real pleasure to have everyone with us tonight and to be gathering in that mindset. So as you continue to make your way in, I will just let you know what's going to happen here tonight. We have an esteemed panel of wonderful individuals here from the university who are going to tell you a little bit about the services that are offered at Mount Allison University. We're really just very excited to be kicking off this open house week of events with this panel tonight. So I'll invite everyone to turn their cameras on just so we can say hello to the group that's out there. So these are all of the friendly people that you're going to be hearing from tonight. So very quickly, Adam, Ryan, Amanda, Anne, Elizabeth, Allison, Krista, and Sarah, welcome and thank you so much. We'll chat a bit more with you later. So this night really is for everyone here. We're gonna make some very brief introductions, but then you'll see the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen there, or on the side of your screen, depending on where you are. If you open that Q&A box, we welcome your questions at any time. We will have time for questions at the end, but you do not need to wait until the end to pose your questions. So just use the Q&A box. I suggest you avoid the chat box. We won't be keeping an eye on that, but the Q&A box, we welcome any and all questions that you have tonight. So with that in mind, I would like to kick things off here, and our first speaker tonight is Allison.
Hi everyone, my name is Allison Ball and I'm an admissions counselor at Mount A as well as the campus liaison officer. So I coordinate a lot of the large events on campus like today in this event that we're participating in right now. But I also recruit students, I process admissions apps, I can make scholarship offers with the assistance of Liz, the financial aid counselor. And generally, I'm just able to be available for students if they have questions or concerns regarding admissions at Mount Allison. So I'm really excited to talk to you all tonight.
Thanks so much, Allison. So Adam, I'm going to look at you next to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Christie. I'm the Director of Student Life and International Services. I've been with the university going on 18 years and some time before that as well, if you count my time as a student at Mount Allison. Originally from BC, made the trip across Canada to come here as a student back in the first year that the Maclean's rankings came out. So that's a while ago if you want to date that. What do I do here at the university? My first contact with students is during the pre-arrival and orientation period. So I work very closely with our students union and with our student orientation chairs to welcome students to the university, prepare them for the transition to university studies. I'm also a liaison with the MASU, which is the Mount Allison Students Union, work in support of our clubs and societies, just really trying to enhance and support the student experience on campus. I work very closely with our colleagues over in the housing office to support the residence experience. So that's all of the programming that happens inside of residence, the opportunities for leadership inside of the residence, whether it's a house executive, a residence assistant, or an academic mentor. Happy to field questions on that front. And I also work very closely with our international office. So that's welcoming new international students to the university, but also providing opportunities for all students to have international experiences over the course of their degree. So look forward to answering questions on any and all fronts.
Thanks so much, Adam. So I'm going to go virtually upstairs from where I'm sitting right now and welcome Anne.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are. As you can see, we are all at home this evening and really happy that you were able to join us. So my name is Ann Comfort, and I am the Director of Accessibility and Student Wellness. I am a proud Mount A alumni. Two of my three children are Mount A alumni, with my youngest finishing up her degree at Mount A right now. I look after anything that has to do with accessibility, both think of it in terms of permanent disabilities, temporary disabilities, medical conditions. I also oversee our counseling services, our mental health and harm reduction education services, as well as our health services. So needless to say, over the spring and summer, we have been very busy getting our campus ready, making sure that all of our COVID protocols are in place, making sure that we are as safe and healthy as we can be, and really trying to respond to students' needs in those areas. So any questions that you might have, I'm happy to take them. And you can also email me at any time, and I'm sure that Mark will share our contact information with you as well. But welcome to Mount A, welcome to this session, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks so much, Ann. So now across the hall for me and Krista.
Hi, everyone. My name is Krista Steves, and I am the Director of Experiential Learning and Career Development. Our department is very, very fortunate to work with all the different departments on campus and students as well as off-campus partners. And we try and prepare students, or help to prepare students, for the ever-changing world of work, employment, and help them be ready to head into grad school or second entry programs. So I'm sure that we're all aware of the changes taking place in our world today. And so we're working to kind of develop programming that would support students in that space. So we provide one-on-one career counseling, support to our students who have any questions about things from resumes to cover letters to how they may chart their career path. We also provide some off-campus placements for students who are looking to get some work experience that would help inform their next steps in their career or in their studies. And we link that to what they're studying. We run a number of different everyday events like career fairs, virtual this year, of course, to some community engaged learning activities that get our students out into the community. I'd be happy to host any questions that you have about some of the programs we're running this year. Last year, we ran a program called Elevate, which focused on getting our students some career and competency training off campus. We have pivoted that program to be completely digital and virtual this year. So preparing our students for digital and virtual workplace. And so that just started this week. I'm happy to take any questions about that.
Thank you so much, Krista. So some of you will be looking for a place to live. So let's talk to Ryan here.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks everyone for joining us this evening from wherever you may be. So my name is Ryan Gallant, as Mark mentioned. I'm the manager of housing services here at Mount Allison. So in my role, I oversee kind of the entire life cycle of living in residence, from the residence application process, room assignments, moving in, helping you through that process, and then everything once you're here, providing support to students living in residence, and working very closely with our partners in the dining hall as far as dining services and the meal plan goes. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions about the application process, how room assignments work, what residence life looks like at Mount Allison, and any questions you may have about the meal plan and dining on campus as well. And with that, I'll hand it back to Mark.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And with that, I will pass it over to Amanda.
Thanks a lot, Mark. So I'm Dr. Amanda Cockshut. I am the Dean of Science and Grad Studies at Mount Allison. So I can answer questions about the academic programs at Mount A, more in science than in other areas, but I can certainly address those. And I'm sure that the Associate Registrar can can answer questions about the academic programs as well. I also wear a couple other hats, though. I have had 3 kids who have done some courses or their whole degree at Mount Allison. So I do have a parent's perspective about Mount Allison, especially in comparison to some other universities, about things like living in residence and meal hall. And I also normally teach one of the large first-year science courses. So I have a lot of interaction with first-year students. I understand their struggles, I understand their challenges and their barriers, and how their preparation for university is not always what it needs to be. So if you have questions about academic things, about the parents' perspective, and about some first-year courses and the first-year experience, I can help to answer those.
Thank you so much. So from there, we're going to head over to talk to Liz.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Fullerton, the Financial Aid and Awards Counselor for Mount Allison University. So I would interact with your student from their application for scholarship, which is embedded in the admissions application. So I would oversee the disbursement of scholarships, bursaries, and awards for incoming students, and as well as while your student returns to Mount A, I will also help them with current student bursary funding, departmental awards, help facilitate those. We provide information on budgeting or general financial aid information out of our office. So I'd be happy to answer any questions related to scholarships or bursary funding or awards at Mount A.
Thank you so much, Liz. And Sarah.
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Kardash. I'm the Acting Associate Registrar, Student Records and Services. I work in the Registrar's office. We are really the hub of the student academic experience. We're working closely with our colleagues in admissions to support students from the time of application right through to graduation and beyond. To give you an idea, a few things, what we do, services and supports we offer through the Registrar's office. We deal with tuition and fee payments, financial aid and awards. So as Elizabeth was saying, scholarships, bursaries. We are also processing student loans from government. We deal with transcripts, grades, student records, including confirmation of enrollment letters. We are coordinating transfer credits, course registration, academic advising, which is where my permanent position is in advising. So if you have questions about degree planning, course registration, I'm happy to answer those. And the last thing I will mention is once your student is admitted to the university, in the Registrar's office, we do, and this is sort of across the board as well, we do prefer to work directly and communicate directly with your student. So if you and your student have a conversation and your student wants to have you be able to access information about their academics or their student financial accounts, take the time to complete the consent to release information form, so we have a little more leeway to talk to you as parents or guardians. We do take the privacy of the student very seriously, so but we do have that form available. And I think that's all for me right now. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sarah. And if I can ask all of the panelists to come on camera, I kind of really like the fact that we are 9. So whether you like Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares, it's like, well, we have to take advantage of that, if you'll permit me at least. So I will take a moment just to touch on a couple items here for all of our guests. Just a reminder, the Q&A box is there for you to ask all of your questions. So we know this is for many of you a very early step as parents and guardians and other supporters of your students in this process, and you may have some questions you're not sure about. Just throw them out there because someone else has those questions too. You can even ask them anonymously if you would so choose. But I think everyone is just happy to hear all of the questions and all the answers that you have, and I see the questions piling in. So with that, I just want to take one additional moment to remind everyone mta.ca/open house is our sort of hub for this week. So make sure you check in, because we have a listing of all of the activities that are planned for the next 3 days. So a very full week ahead. Not too full, because we don't want you to be at your screen all day and all night, but enough to keep you entertained and informed and get you excited about the Mount Allison option as well. I see the questions piling up, so I need to stop talking and send it over to some of you. So I'm going to look at you first, Allison, because I do have a question here about the section of the application where we ask students to tell us, Mount Allison, about themselves in 3,000 characters. Can you tell us a bit about that field and what kind of information we might be looking for?
We want everything. Your dogs. No, I'm just joking. Honestly, it's really up to the student. At Mount A, we'd love to get to know who you are, what you're interested in. Students tell us a variety of things in the Tell Us About Yourself. Can be a family past, why you want to study at Mount A. It's always interesting to get to know the student better. You don't have to write anything, but we do value when students make the effort. Amanda's son, Malcolm, has one of the best all-time Tell Us About Yourselves. Like, some of them are very funny, and Malcolm's was, I remember it. And I love when I get those when you're going through admissions applications, when you get to learn something really interesting about a student. It's great. But don't feel pressure that you have to fill out the 3,000 words or 3,000 characters. Tell us what you want. We're happy to get anything you're willing to give.
Quick follow-up to that, Allison. If you start and stop the application process, is that okay, or do you have to do it all at once?
You can log in and log out as often as you want, but I just ask that you save it continuously. If you are filling out your application and you get up to take a break, go in the kitchen, grab a snack, talk to your mom, and then all of a sudden you get back to your computer and 25 minutes has passed, you will be kicked out of the system for security purposes, and the information that you put could be lost. So just be sure that you're constantly saving your application, but you can log in and log out as often as you want, because honestly, our admissions application is a comprehensive app. We're collecting admissions info as well as scholarship. So we do want you to take your time and, tell us about your extracurriculars, if you volunteer, leadership roles, and any work experience you have, because that will be used when we look at your scholarship values. So take your time, fill it out, but just remember to always hit save.
Great words of advice there. Always hit save, especially if you just finished with your 3,000 characters, or if you're not quite done your 3,000 characters, hit save. Thank you so much, Allison. So let's talk a little bit about residence, because I do have a couple of questions here. So Ryan, can you talk a bit about how room assignments work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the residence application will open on November 4th this year. So the residence application, when you go in, it will ask you a number of questions about yourself and your preferences. And it will ask you your top 3 choices as far as residence room and residence building go. So that's where you would input your top 3 choices. And then you would complete the application. There's an application fee of $50 that you would pay at the time of application. Once that's completed, we do the early bird room assignments typically in March. And the room assignments are based on the date that you pay your registration deposit. So the earlier you pay your registration deposit, the better your chance of one of your top 3 room preferences that you indicate on your application. So we encourage you to apply to residence early, but we really encourage you to pay that $100 if you're a domestic student registration deposit early, because that is what the room assignment date is based on.
Thank you so much. And I did have a question here from Maddie as well. Can we request a certain residence? So Ryan, as you mentioned there, you can request up to 3, in fact.
Yes.
And as someone who never knew when he was applying to residence, I don't think it really matters myself. I asked someone and they gave me 3 names I didn't know. There's not a bad residence in the bunch, so it doesn't matter where you end up. But you certainly, if you come in and see and have some ideas, then we certainly have some possibilities for you. So let's talk a little bit about scholarships as well. So Liz, I'm curious to know if you can talk a little bit about if we consider international students as well for scholarships.
Yeah, so happy to say that we do. All applicants are considered for our scholarship funding for our entrance scholarship program, regardless of nationality or citizenship. So just apply, and we look at your academics, as well as your activities, your work experience, your volunteer efforts, your leadership potential, advanced courses, all of these things that Allison sort of mentioned before. We consider all of these. When it comes to the other funding, the bursary funding, there are specific funds that are for international students and different awards that are for international students. But when it comes to our entrance scholarship program, absolutely, all international students are eligible given they meet the base criteria for scholarship eligibility, which is your 80% and above. So that's the base criteria that we look for our scholarship programs. Also, on top of that, we, through admissions, also have entrance awards. They sometimes vary each year, but they're on our website right now, mta.ca/money matters, and go to the financing your degree and look at all the scholarship and awards. So there are also entrance awards for international awards, IB awards, community leader awards. So there's a few of them there, and you can sort of scroll through them and assess your eligibility. Now, rest assured, you don't have to figure out which ones you are eligible for. That could be an awful headache. We'll do that for you in the back end. So you just tell us about yourself. Do your best at your schoolwork, send us your transcripts, and we will match you with things that you are eligible for and assess you for them.
Thanks, Liz. Now, just a quick follow-up as well. Ian asks, if I apply for admission today, but I'm not ready to apply for a scholarship yet, is that okay?
Well, when you apply for admissions, you complete an application that is one comprehensive application, and that includes our scholarship application as well. I think it's on sort of the 3rd page of the admissions application. We ask you a lot of questions surrounding scholarships, and specifically that's where you list your activities that you do and the work that you've had or your employment. We also ask you some donor related questions. So some of our generous donors that have left funds for scholarship have specific criteria surrounding them. And so we ask these specific yes/no questions on that application. And so you jump through those and answer those. Now, so when you submit your application, you are submitting a final application for admissions and scholarships. And you do agree to an attestation question at the end of it, stating that you agree and you know that everything you have submitted is the final package for your admissions and scholarships. So we don't really parcel those apart, they are together. So keep that in mind. When you apply for admissions, you are applying for scholarships. If something changes, if you have the opportunity of lifetime, if you're chosen for a national award, if something happens after the fact, by all means, email it to us. Tell us about it. As Allison said, we want to know about you. So just send it along to admissions@mta.ca or upload it to your account. And as long as the documents are in before March 1st, whatever documents are in before March 1st, we will consider it for your final scholarship assessment that happens around that time of year. Okay?
Thanks, Liz. Amanda, it's very convenient that of the deans that we could have tonight, we have the Dean of Science because we have a question about science. So we do have a question from Chris who wonders how Mount Allison compares to other physics and astronomy programs that are available at other universities.
That's a great question, actually, and one that I strangely have some experience with just because I wear so many hats. So our physics program is small. It's one of it is our smallest science faculty. We have 5 permanent physicists, faculty members, and some instructors. It's small, but it's mighty. So we do have we do have some really strong researchers in physics. And one of the things that sort of sets Mount Allison apart from a lot of its comparator universities is the amazing opportunity to do research. So while you can get all the courses, I think, that you need to get your degree from Mount Allison in physics or astronomy, we do have an astronomer on faculty, you also get the chance to do research. So one of our researchers is someone who does a lot of work at the cyclotron in Mainz, Germany, and he normally takes over 2 to 3 to 4 undergraduate students every year, not this year, of course, but to Germany to do their research in the summer. And that's a really great experience that our students get. I have one of my kids who's currently studying engineering physics at Queen's, and she has some great experiences, some great opportunities there. But honestly, I think we're offering some really fantastic opportunities here for our students that are comparable to that very much larger and, believe me, way more expensive university to attend. So I think that we do well, even comparison to somewhere like St. Mary's, which is a local strength in physics and astronomy. I think we do an excellent job, and I'd be confident having a kid study here in physics.
Thanks, Amanda. You mentioned briefly that physics classes are not particularly large on the whole. There is another question here that sort of asks more generally, on average, how large is each department?
Okay, departments, the largest department on campus is 11 faculty members. That's psychology. So that's faculty members. So in my faculty of science, I have between 5 and 11 faculty members per department. We have a department or two in the university that are as small as 3. In terms of students, it's a very different picture though. So the faculty of science has something on the order of 900, 870 odd students total over the 4 years there. And then in departments, you know, we have, it depends whether you're counting enrollments or majors, but science is now the largest group of students on the whole in the university. But in terms of classes, which may be another thing that is important to incoming students and parents, we have very small, often upper year courses. And we have sometimes very large first year courses, and you need to know that. So in normal non-COVID times, we're limited to 205 students in a classroom because that's our biggest room. But all of those classes, or most of them, have small labs, which are limited to like 24 or 30 students in a room with an instructor. So I think that you have to think about the size of the departments is a bunch of different things that it can mean. But our departments tend to be smaller than many of the large universities, certainly. Is that the gist of the question, do you think, that was asked, Mark, or were we aiming for something else?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what we're going for. So thank you, and more for that matter. Much appreciated. Ann Comfort, I'm looking at you because there's a question here about the documentation that a student might need to get access to services for students with disabilities. So, and perhaps you can talk a bit about the Me Center and also our wellness services that are available for students.
Sure. So I'll talk about the sort of the documentation piece. So most universities, us included, are looking for some documentation that'll help us understand sort of the nature of the condition and how it impacts learning. So that documentation can be very different depending on what the condition or disability is. So typically somebody with a learning disability and attention deficit disorder would typically have a psychoed assessment. Someone with a physical disability might have an assessment that was done by an OT or a physiotherapist that they've been working with for a long time. Some medical conditions will get documentations from family doctors or specialists. Usually what I'm saying to students is, if you're unsure of what you're going to need, if you want us to take a look at it, we're happy to do that. Send us what you have before you go out and you try to get more, because what you have might be enough. If you've provided documentation to the high school, if you can get us a copy of that. Depending on where you go to high school, you might have had an IEP, a PLP, some kind of a personalized learning plan. Having copies of that can help us sort of understand what that transition might look like. Services for both permanent and temporary conditions or disabilities at Mount A are provided through a center called the Meehan Center. We have great staff there, and it's not unusual for us this time of year to start hearing from students who want us to help them understand what the transition would look like. So please reach out. You can email accessibility@mta.ca, and we'll answer all of your questions.
Thank you so much. So, Allison, I see a lot of questions coming in here about admissions. So I should also note that this might be, I don't know what the whole plan is for the full week, but this is a moment to acknowledge that Allison's put an awful lot of work into this virtual open house. I just don't know if we'll get another opportunity. So let me say that before I forget.
Many hands make light work, Mark.
This is true too. So can you provide a little bit more info about the admissions decisions that will be announced on Friday as part of the open house? And will that be for all programs?
Certainly. So at Mount Allison, we have early admissions. So we're looking at your grade 11 year if you're a senior in high school. And we're typically looking for 5 courses, English being one of them, pre-calculus if you're applying to science. And any student that applies submits a transcript before Thursday at noon. So you submit your application online using the promo code that we gave you. You upload a transcript. We don't require an official transcript until you graduate. So if you have a copy that you were given at the end of last year, great. If you have a screenshot from your school, if your guidance counselor can fax it to us, we'll accept any transcript we can get. That sounds kind of bad, but we don't require official. And all decisions will be made. So our goal is at 9 a.m. on Friday morning, students will be communicated whether or not they've been accepted to the university for specific programs. So we cannot give offers to the Bachelor of Music program because students have to audition for that program. And we can't provide offers to the Bachelor of Fine Arts because students have to submit a portfolio to get into the program. But what we do in that case, we would make an offer into the arts. So you could be a Bachelor of Arts student, major music, until you've had a chance to audition, or you could be a Bachelor of Arts unknown until you submit your fine arts portfolio and have that reviewed. We have a Future Manny celebration happening on Friday between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And basically students can drop in. It'll be kind of set up like this, where one admissions counselor will kind of be the host. So when you come in, you'll get kind of moved to a room where an admissions counselor will be. So it'll be a private space where we can talk about your admissions application. If there's any concerns, we can also convey what scholarships you've earned. So you really get a full idea of your acceptance, your scholarships on Friday. Official offers will be placed in the mail the following week. So you will still get an official offer in the mail, but it'll happen next week.
Thank you. And a quick follow-up as well once more, Allison. So I have another question here about once accepted. So if you get an offer on Friday, the question is, do we have to pay registration before applying for a specific program? But you talked a bit about the program there. But can you talk about the sequence of the registration deposit as well as the residence deposit that Ryan mentioned earlier?
Yeah, certainly. So once you have an offer of admission at Mount A, you can accept the offer. To accept the offer, if you're a Canadian student, it's a $100 registration deposit. If you're an international student, it's a $250 registration deposit. Essentially, that confirms your spot at Mount Allison, and it gives you priority for the room draw. You don't have to worry that if you pay that deposit that you're in a legal contract with Mount A. You have the right to decide whether to study here regardless of paying the deposit, but it does give you priority for the room draw. Yeah, once you have that, your spot is held. And then what Ryan mentioned, the residence application opens typically November 1st. And there's a $50 application fee for that.
That's great, thank you so much. I see the questions piling up and there's still a lot of questions about admissions. I'm going to hang on to those for a little bit because we have here full of people who can talk about many things. And I know those of us who are here from admissions can probably spare a few extra minutes, if anyone.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna try and move through a few of the programs and also tell you as well. So I see a few questions here about specific academic programs. So we'll try and get to some of those, but if we don't get to some of those specific programs, Allison, sorry, quickly, would you be able to talk a bit about some of the other opportunities to learn about some of those specific programs this week?
Yeah, so on tomorrow from 9 to 12 Atlantic time, we have an open admissions room. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., you'll receive a new list of activities for the day. Follow the link. 2 admissions counselors will be there to answer any questions regarding programs or admission. But on Thursday, it's our academic and student support day. And we have, I believe, 6 or 7 mini lectures produced. We also have interviews with the deans and department heads for arts, science, commerce, music, and fine arts. They're very informative. And in the evening, there will be academic information sessions. So at 7 p.m. on Thursday, October 15th, you can attend again arts, science, music, fine arts, and commerce. And then at 8 p.m., we'll have another set of arts and science. Just in case you're a science student, but you have a real interest in music, you can attend both sessions.
Thank you so much, Allison. So Amanda, I'm going to come back to you. Lots of questions here in the Q&A accumulating about COVID and the impact on the education system. So Kip and Sabine asked, with challenges in New Brunswick education, and obviously if you're not in New Brunswick, there are probably challenges where you are too, but especially in these times of COVID-19, how can we anticipate potential challenges with the transition to the university learning environment, and what's Mount Allison doing?
So that's actually a fantastic question. Transition to university in normal times is never an easy thing. I think those of us who've attended university can remember first year being pretty rough on in some ways. I think that high school generally moves somewhat slowly and carefully, and strong students get a bit of a false sense of security into how easy it's going to be, and things move a lot more quickly at university than they do at high school. That said, we all get through that phase and get going. But there's an additional issue this year because of COVID. A lot of students missed a lot of content, a lot of time, and are not that well prepared. So for the students who are applying now, they maybe have missed most or half of grade 11, most of that term. For the students that came in this fall, for instance, though, imagine them. They lost the better part of a term of grade 12. So we had a number of programs in place. We had courses for them to take in the summer. We had 4 credit courses. We had preparatory courses for them to take in the summer. And all the faculty do understand, the first year faculty understand that this is not a normal time. You know, the weird thing is though, we're actually finding the students to be pretty well prepared academically this fall. It's not jumping out to us that they are not academically prepared, although sometimes it's reading and language that's coming out, not math these days, which is sort of surprising to me. But what is coming out is that they've had some struggles with mental health issues. And I think it's equally important to look at the academics and the mental health supports that are there for students when they transition to university. This was a really weird year for students to start university. If their residence experience was, if they're in residence, is not what it was. And if they're attending online, that's a whole different world than it has been for us in the past. Now, I know some universities have been largely online for a long time, but that's not the Mount A way. But we have been reaching out. We've got student peer mentors who are reaching out to students in things like this and one-on-one Zoom meetings. We have faculty members doing office hours online in Teams or Zoom or whatever platform. And so we've come up with a number of different ways to get to students. In the Faculty of Science, we've been running for 3 or 4 years now a program called START at MTA, which is a science transition and readiness training. It's a 6-week program where first year students meet with upper year students who are doing well, and then they talk about things that they need to work on, like time management, like study skills, like understanding what a course outline or syllabus is and how to deal with that, how to plan their semester. So that is still in place, and we'll continue to do that going forward. But I think that we are adapting as well as we can to the challenges that COVID are throwing at us and at the students. Did you have any other specific questions about that, Mark?
Excuse me. So there was a, similar vein question. There's just so many questions. I'm losing track of them here. But Kathy was wondering a little bit too, what kinds of supports Mount A will have in place for the gaps in academics caused by the interruption to grade 11 courses in the previous term for students arriving in 2021.
So I think that in science and certainly in the arts as well, we'll be planning to continue with these preparatory courses that are not for credit in the summer, as well as we may continue to give students the option to do a 4-credit course in the summer, which we experimented with for the first time this summer. Exciting times. And I think it really helps students to take one course at the university level at a time and really understand at what kind of pace that's going to happen and what the demands are, and then to be able to go into more courses in the fall. So, and I would also say that if you are noticing in your kids, okay, my kids are past the high school stage now, if you're noticing certain things you think are gaps or you perceive as gaps, let us know. Let the recruitment team, admissions team, the registrar's office, the dean, anyone you want, let us know what you think the gaps are so we can address them. Because if we don't know they're there, we certainly can't address them.
Thank you so much, Amanda. More words of wisdom to keep in mind. A good reason to remind everyone as well that this session is recorded so that you can watch it again in case you miss anything along the way, because a lot of good stuff coming out here tonight. Krista, I'd like to bring you into the loop here as well, because I do have a question here asking, are there any experiential learning opportunities in computer science?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. We are approached by members of the community and external partners all the time looking for students who are in computer science and wanting to kind of make that connection between what they're studying and the work that's available in the workplace. So there are many opportunities from a work perspective, but there are also a tremendous amount of programs like Mount A Hacks, or there's a Google competition team. So there's lots going on in computer science. If you ever thought that you'd want to get some connections outside, off campus, no problem, they're there in computer science.
Great, thanks so much, Krista. Adam Christie, Director of Student Life International. Can we talk a little bit about, I tried to use my hand, but my hand just disappeared. I lost my arm entirely. Covered up by the football field. So let's talk about some of our sports programs. And can you talk a little bit about how the pandemic has affected our sports programs at the school?
Sure, so I'll do my best job as a stand-in for Pierre Arsenault, our Director of Athletics and Recreation, who could probably speak more specifically to our athletics programs, varsity, club sports, and our intramurals. And so in those 3 different areas, university sports is governed by a national body, and so as many are probably aware, varsity sports across the country have largely been limited or shut down. Players are here, they continue to practice, and because different sports have different seasons and they're waiting on news on a go-forward basis. Before the Southeast New Brunswick experienced the setback that it did just this past Friday, where we moved from the yellow phase back to the orange phase, we were moving ahead with our intramural program, so that's an opportunity for students to get involved in, I would say, non-competitive sports, but it's still pretty competitive, whether it's residence by residence or students living off campus. And again, up until Friday, I mean, our athletic center and our fitness center were open and available to students, but we've had to press pause on that for the time being while we wait for further updates from New Brunswick Public Health. We understand that fitness and athletics are an important outlet for students, and we talked earlier about mental health and how we can balance academics and the challenges of trying to make that transition to university. And so athletics are a big part of what students are looking for in terms of trying to maintain positive mental health and life balance. We're doing our best within the framework that we find ourselves in. Pierre's doing a great job and his team as well. But us, like other universities, we're working through COVID as best we can, and trying to identify and find those opportunities for student sports and athletics and fitness as best we can.
Thanks, Adam. And since I'm pairing questions up, it seems tonight, there are 2 question bubbles, I guess. I have a question from Catherine. How would students describe their residence life this year, since things are obviously a little bit different?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Catherine. I think that Ryan can attest to this too, that, we've really tried hard to really over the years to invest in our residence life experience. We feel that it's very core. We have to the Mount Allison experience. We have, in any given year, we have anywhere from 21 to 2,200 students on campus, and we would normally be up around 900 to 1,000 students in residence, with many of the other students living a very close walking distance from the university. And so, residence life has been a very foundational experience for a lot of students in terms of how they connect with others, and the friendships that they make, and many times those friendships will go on to become roommates in off-campus rooming situations or housing situations. Students will often seek out opportunities for leadership in residence in terms of taking on a residence assistant position, or if they're looking to give back to the house in terms of as a house executive, planning activities for fellow members of the house, or as academic mentors. So these are all of these positions have been filled by really keen, very excited, very enthusiastic students who are looking to navigate the new challenges and limitations that we're dealing with with COVID. So one of the big changes for us as a residence community is that all of our rooms are single rooms, and so that's reduced the number of students in residence to we entered the year with 750 rooms, and also just the challenges around having to find that intersection between the student experience, but also trying to comply with public health guidelines and doing everything in a safe way that keeps people healthy. And so we've had to monitor or adjust like how we do activities. So things have been outside more frequently, have been in smaller groups more frequently, but the house execs are undeterred. They're looking for ways to creatively navigate this new landscape that we're in, so that they can continue to create like a fun and interactive experience in residence. It is a challenge, I will say, but we're learning as we go, and we've got good students in place who are doing their best to provide those similar opportunities for first-year students who are moving to residence.
Thanks, Adam. Ryan, as we're talking about residents, briefly actually, Adam mentioned a house exec. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Yes, yeah, so each house has a team of house executive. So those are elected students. The houses have house presidents, vice presidents, secretary treasurers, social chairs who plan social activities within the houses, kind of what Adam was just talking about. And then there are house leadership roles. So those are things like assistant dons. So in each building, we have what's called a don. It's an adult or adult family who lives in the residence building and provides leadership and support to the house team and the students who are living in the house. There's a student who acts as the assistant don, and then there's residence assistants that are known as RAs in each of the houses as well. Sorry, ACMEN. I forgot about ACMEN. So academic mentors in at least one academic mentor in each of the buildings who provide academic support right within the residence community.
Thanks, Ryan. And I did have another question here from someone who maybe doesn't know Mount Allison that well. In your opinion, what is the best residence house for more academically focused students?
Well, I'm going to say all of them, especially because of the supports I was just talking about. Having academic mentors within our residence buildings, I think really helps students on the academic front. And I would definitely encourage people to check out the residence profiles and look at the residence tours that are happening this week as well, to get a glimpse of all of the various options. We do have eight residence buildings, so we do have a large variety, and it really depends on your personality types as far as the room type and kind of the community style that you're looking for. So check out the residence profiles and certainly the videos that are available this week.
Thanks, Ryan. Back to you for a couple more questions, Amanda. Leslie just asked right now, because some, of course, are not familiar with our current model here. So can you just talk a bit about, are classes all online or some classes in person right now? What's happening?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. We actually have 3 ways that we're offering classes right now. We're offering online classes that are not scheduled in any way so that you can do them at your own pace. We're offering online classes that are scheduled. So you've got to attend the virtual class. It's like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday or something. And then we have classes that have in-person elements. So those are the ones that are having studios. So I saw a question go by up there about music. Most of our music classes are happening in person. Most of our fine arts classes are happening in person. Our science labs are happening for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part in person. So we have a mix of things happening. When it's a big group, like imagine a science lecture, it's going to happen online for the most part. And then the lab would happen in a small group environment. We've had to modify them to make sure that they're all following all the COVID rules, but we're doing a lot of in-person as well as online at the moment.
Thanks, Amanda. We also have a question here about our aviation program. So we offer aviation through Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Science. Does this degree limit the student to being a commercial pilot, or does the degree stand on its own in the eyes of employers? So realistically, could they apply for a job in, say, marketing and expect to have a good shot at the job?
So that's also a really good question. And the Bachelor of Commerce with Aviation is new, so we haven't had any graduates yet, but I think that's a powerful combo because it potentially leads to aviation management and working with airlines more on the commerce side, on the, as you said, marketing or management and whatnot. The BSc Aviation that I have a lot of experience with is actually one of our bigger programs now. We have a lot of students coming into that program. Ideally suited for training commercial pilots, bush pilots, private pilots, but also it's a Bachelor of Science degree, and we've had students go on to graduate school in areas such as physics and environmental science and in programs related to aviation. So it's not a limiting degree in any way. That the degree itself, the Bachelor of Commerce, the Bachelor of Science, stands on its own. It doesn't have to have. It doesn't solely lead to commercial pilots, although we do train a lot of commercial pilots, gotta say.
Thanks. And actually, I'm going to throw one more out here just because I see it on the screen. A question about the average amount a student spends on textbooks and science.
That's changing all the time, Mark, because more and more materials are going for open access and online. So, and the ones that do still require a textbook, often it's an electronic textbook, which takes the price down to like $80 or $100. I don't have this year's average. First year students probably gonna spend up to $1,000 over the year, but that's if they bought every book. And I can tell you that not all the students are buying their books. Sometimes they're sharing, sometimes they're pirating, sometimes they're, you know, they're sharing resources one way or another. Sometimes they just don't buy the book, let's face it. But, and I know that as you go up in years, we rely more and more on things like research articles that are freely available online so that you don't have to buy them. So that really, that value, that amount per year goes down quite a bit with subsequent years. In fact, I don't think most of the upper year students would be spending anything on textbooks at that stage.
Fantastic. We always love hearing we might not have to spend on something. So I'm looking through the questions that we have here. I actually want to look back to you, Krista, for a moment, because you talked about experiential learning opportunities in computer science earlier, and then someone got excited and asked about similar opportunities in environmental science.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would say environmental science is one of the areas we see a tremendous amount of opportunities at Mount Allison. So we work with Ducks Unlimited, we work with EOS Energy, Community Forest International. Like there's no shortage of opportunities for students to get involved with local community around the environment. We also, I would say, a lot of your professors are taking you on field trips water sampling in the area, citizen science. Like, there's no shortage of opportunities for our students to participate in experiential learning around the environment and environmental science. And it's not just students who are registered in environmental science. We have a number of students who may have a major in something and a minor in environmental science, and that would make them eligible for these experiences as well. So there's no shortage of opportunities there. In fact, many of our students have an interest and a passion as well as their academic study. So we work with the community to make sure that happens. We have students in the schools helping to educate around climate change and the environment. So that all comes together to be an experience that informs kind of next steps for an individual.
Thanks, Krista. And just another one I think I can sneak in here. Adam, let's look at you, because I think I could ask this question of a number of different people, but how central of a role would you say the university library and archives and the services within there play in the learning experience?
Sure, I'll take, I'm going to approach it from one side, and someone else may want to approach it from the other side. And Amanda, I'm sort of looking over at your square from in terms of the academic support that the library and its staff provide. But I mean, I think that the library really is a learning hub on campus, and it's a very busy, very popular place to study, to research, and to socialize. There is the Bean Cafes in there. It's always busy. And the main floor of the library is always busy. And it's also home to services like the Writing Resource Center and the Math Resource Center. And so I'll just quickly mention what both do. And the Writing Resource Center provides students with bookable opportunities to sit down with peer tutors or with trained staff to provide direction and tips on their writing. And that benefits students across the spectrum, and regardless of what their major or minors happen to be. And so the Writing Resource Center is hugely popular among students, and it's heavily promoted among faculty, and it's a great resource for students, and we can't recommend it enough. There's also the Math and Physics Resource Center. So this is in large part run by upper year students who are very passionate about their subject area, very knowledgeable, and they come along first and second year students who need direction and support in those areas. Also in the library, we have an office that's dedicated to supporting first generation students. So if this is a student's first time, or if this is the first student in their family to attend university, that I mean, the first message is that they're not alone. There are many students who are walking the same journey, and the office that supports first generation students ensures that students can walk that journey together with trained support from staff and from upper year students were further along that path. And then Shelley Collette, the manager of academic support services, is also based in the library, and she's a huge resource to students, and so she can connect students with all of our peer tutors and our peer support programs. So whether students are there to study, whether they're there to socialize, or whether to plug into existing supports, I mean, the library really is a busy and important hub on campus. I don't know if, Amanda, you wanted to add anything further.
Well, I might just say that librarians do things too. The librarians are a really central point of contact for learning how to do research, and what are appropriate sources, how do you use them, how do you refer to them, what's plagiarism, what's not plagiarism, how to access good resources as opposed to just Googling something and going to the top hit that you get online. So understanding what is good information is becoming a really big deal. You don't have to go to actually get a book out of the library very often anymore, but you do have to become someone who curates information and sources very carefully. So our librarians have shifted what they do a lot, but it's more important than ever before to have librarians who can help students with that. And when you do have academic integrity issues like plagiarism, like students who've copied something, doing time with a librarian is one of the penalties that you have to do. And I jokingly say that, but it's important that students understand what they did wrong. And the librarian is the perfect person to help them with that.
Can I just add as well? Adam mentioned the First Gen Den, and we have a lot of campus ambassadors that are profiled on a platform called Welcome to College. If you go to our homepage, the third square, there's chat with the student ambassador. There'll be links in your registration tomorrow, but we have a lot of students that are active members with the First Gen Den. So they are upper year students that help support first year, second year students that are transitioning to university. And M is one of the students profiled. If you look her up, she, I'm sure, would be thrilled to answer any questions you have, just from a student perspective.
Thank you so much. All of the A's, Allison, Amanda, Adam, giving some A quality advice, which is actually where we're going to leave the panel part of this evening. So we've been 1 hour here. We've had lots of questions. I still see lots of questions that are on the Q&A, but the majority of what I see there, as I mentioned, I see are related to admissions. So I actually have not told you this, but I work in the admissions office. Allison, I think, can stick around for a few minutes. And that will allow us to excuse the rest of our wonderful panel who have come to join us for this sort of first step in the journey toward Mount Allison. I do want to point out that everyone here is accessible to all of you as parents of students until the student is enrolled at the university, and then the game changes a little bit. But we're here to help. And so Allison and I will be able to pass along contact information for any of these people that you see. We also have a really handy page on our website called the phone book. And you can just type in financial aid, or you can type science, or you can type Amanda, and you'll see the people that you want to talk to. But we can always connect you as well. One more time, a reminder, mta.ca/open house in case you're not going to stick around. I would like to take a moment to thank all of you who've joined for this panel to sort of kick off our open house week and kick off this experience for everyone. So Sarah, Liz, Adam, Anne, Amanda, Allison, Ryan, Krista, thank you all so much for being with us. And thank you to all of you who are out there watching this tonight. And again, a reminder, this is recorded, so you'll be able to access it later on our open house site. Sorry?
We'll be posting all of the recorded sessions next week. Even though open house is over, our doors are still open. So all the content will live on mta.ca/open house. So next week, it'll all be updated. So all the recorded sessions will be there for your convenience.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone. I'll look forward to seeing your happy faces again. It's nice to have an excuse to see you all. So have a wonderful night. Oh my goodness, that's a little bit scary. And we'll see you all again soon. Thanks again.
Hey, Mark. Night, Allison. Bye, everyone.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
And as they make their way out of the room, Allison, let's get set here, and we'll see if we can make our way through some of these questions that are asked in the admission section here. And we'll try to get them through. Sorry, let's try this. We'll try to say our sentences in the correct order. Then we'll try to go through these relatively quickly so we get to everybody. So Allison, is it possible to take fine arts electives without a Bachelor of Fine Arts? And if so, do you need to submit an art portfolio?
It is possible, but you do still have to submit a portfolio. My best advice would be to reach out to the department head, Eric Edson. There's a really informative academic session that will be available on Thursday. So if you want, you can go to the academic session Thursday at 7 p.m. and talk to Eric yourself. I know that typically in the fall, the Fine Arts Department would have a portfolio day where they would assist students with reviewing their portfolios, critique them, give them tips for their final submission. This year, we can't host students on campus, but they are coordinating Zoom portfolio days for individuals. So if you're looking at any fine arts class, you should go to that session, express your interest, and they will best guide you in how to apply.
Great.
But there are lots of students that are taking fine arts minors without pursuing a Bachelor of Fine Arts or a Bachelor of Arts major fine arts.
So many possible combinations.
I know.
Is the information in the scholarship section of the application used for admissions decisions also?
I mean, we'd love to see it, but typically we're looking for students that are, you know, involved in their community. At Mount A, I mean, we are very much a community. We want students to come here and be a part of that. So we do look a lot of the scholarship information as indicators of success at Mount A. But it certainly, I mean, this year with COVID, there aren't as many extracurricular opportunities for students as well. And we will be mindful of that. But overall, the whole application is reviewed for admission as well as scholarships.
Thank you. So just to confirm, no separate scholarships applications, correct?
No separate scholarship applications.
So once you submitted the application, you're covered.
And just to confirm, scholarships are based on your merit and academics. Bursaries are based on financial need. So if you have financial need, there is a separate application for bursaries, and that's also due by March 1st. But in general, any student who's applied and submitted a mid-year transcript by March 1st will be considered for scholarships, but you have to submit a bursary application if you want to be considered for a bursary, which is based on financial need. And I would say apply for it regardless. Yeah.
Speaking of money, how do we pay for living at the university? Do we pay per semester?
Yes. So tuition is split 50-50. So 50% would be due the second Friday in September, and 50% would be due typically the second Friday in January. Residents in the dining hall are actually split 70-30. So 70% in September, 30 in January. But you do have to keep in mind the deposits. So there is the $100 registration deposit for Canadian students, $250 for international students, and any student living in residence will have to submit a $500 housing deposit as well. That money will come off your winter semester. So you'll notice that the winter semester is typically more affordable than September. It's just kind of the way it breaks down.
Great. If my student is accepted, I'm speaking as the parent now, for early admissions, when do they find out about the scholarship awarded to them? And also, when will they be notified? When will they be notified about early admission decisions?
So like I mentioned earlier, our goal is that emails will go out on Friday morning to say, hey, you've been accepted. We've been selfishly holding all of our offers for this open house event because we do want it to be an exciting day for students. So your son or daughter will receive an email on Friday morning indicating if they've been accepted. If they'd like to join the Future Mountie celebration to learn about all of the scholarships that they've been awarded, they can do so, but there will be an official letter following in the mail the next week. So official emails as well to set up their Mount A email address as well as to receive their student ID will happen probably on Monday the following week.
And so if they find out about a scholarship on Friday, is that their final scholarship offer?
Never. No. Good catch, Mark. So initial scholarships happen when we make early admission decisions, but after March 1st, we review again every single student for scholarships. So our financial aid package is typically released the first week in April. So we look at every student, all of their involvements, and we make a final financial aid offer. And that can include the scholarship values as well as the bursary, as well as any awards. So some of our scholarships, there are extra information that there is extra information you have to provide. So our Bell Scholarship, students need to provide 3 reference letters and an essay. The deadline for that is March 1st. So a student can apply now, and as long as they submit those 3 references and essay by March 1st, they'll be considered for the Bell Scholarship, which is valued at $48,000 and comes with an $8,000 internship. Every year we give away 6 Bell Scholarships, and we also have the Baby Bell, which is Bell Achievement. It's not cheese, and it's valued at $36,000 and also comes with an $8,000 internship, and we give away 5 every year.
And so, Allison, for students applying from outside of New Brunswick, is the process for sending transcripts any different than for students inside of the province? And one attendee says, our school told us that Mount A will contact them to receive it. Is this true?
No. So it really is up to the student to provide the transcript. So I know in Ontario, there is often like a transcript portal. We aren't privy to that because we're out of the province. So it is quite common that Ontario transcripts come to us, but they don't have the course content for their senior year. Transcript would just include the grade 11 grades. So in that situation, we'd like the student to send us or have their guidance send us a transcript, but also provide their current course load. So which classes they're taking this semester as well as next, so we can ensure that you will meet our admission requirements. We don't proactively reach out to guidance counselors for transcripts. I mean, I shouldn't say we don't. We will in the off case. I mean, we try to best serve our students, but it is up to the student to either upload a copy to their application or request that the school send it to us directly.
And another attendee asks about general admission in Ontario schools sometimes can be sent out as late as June. When does Mount A usually send out its acceptance?
Why wait till June? Come on, this is so exciting. If you apply by noon on Thursday, you are going to have an offer on Friday. So that's mid-October. You will know if you've been accepted to the university. We really want to get that offer out to the student. This is an exciting time in your life. You're a senior, you're looking at, you know, what the future holds, and we'd love to provide you with a spot to come.
So there's your answer. So acceptance to the university by Friday, perhaps. Bearing in mind, again, fine arts and music, you'll be accepted to the university, but not yet necessarily to your specific, in fact, not yet to your program at all until auditions or portfolio review in the late winter time, early spring.
Yeah, so fine arts portfolios typically due February 15th, and auditions for the music program typically begin on the 1st of February. So you would submit an application to the university, but you also have to apply on the music website and the fine arts website. They have a really detailed form. Like, it's easy to find. They'll help you throughout the process, and they'll set up an audition or a portfolio for you.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but I see it on the screen. How much do fine arts materials cost?
It can be quite a bit. So it really depends on your medium that you choose to work with. So your first 2 years in fine arts, you were doing broad studies, painting, drawing, printmaking, sculpture, photography, mixed media. My general understanding is that it's around $2,000 a year. It can be up to $2,500. I know when Dr. Cockshut mentioned that some seniors aren't paying for books, I know that a lot of our art students are paying for, my light just just a second, I'll do a shimmy to turn my light back on. There we go. A lot of our students are having to buy books in their senior years, but for the fine arts, the great thing with the program is the professors really support students' vision. So I have a campus ambassador that's a fine arts student that had this wild, outrageous idea to make this huge sculpture, and it was going to cost a lot of money that she couldn't afford. She pitched her idea to her professors, and they actually found funds for her to pursue this dream that she had for this sculpture, and she was able to do it. So there are fees for that program, and certainly material costs will be part of that, but I think that you'll find the faculty are really supportive if you have some wild, crazy idea. They like that.
All right. Let's dive into this topic as well, because I know a lot of you have the questions about, it's different this year because COVID-19 and everything that goes with that. So a couple questions here, like in Ontario, many places are using the block system or the optometry system for online learning. And so we're not necessarily certain what classes that will be available in the future semesters. Will there be more leniency about that when it comes to the early admission process?
100%. Honestly, we are here for students. And I mean, the fortunate thing, which doesn't seem very fortunate, but everybody is experiencing this together. So every student in Ontario will be feeling that. In New Brunswick, students are attending every other day. we understand this, and we're always going to try to support you as best as possible to be flexible and understanding.
And so part of that flexibility, again, would, for those of you who are watching from New Brunswick tonight, would extend to those CR and ENR notations that you have on your transcript. So Angie was asking, how would that affect scholarships or entrance requirements? And so that's a really interesting topic as well. So rest assured, we are doing pretty much, it's essentially status quo for us in terms of scholarships. We've assessed the students who are applying right now, and we see what they do and do not have on their transcripts. We will not punish or penalize a student who chose ENR over CR when you had no idea what the implications would be. So that's important to know. Conversely, we do acknowledge the work that goes into completing the credit for students who do that. And so we're looking for additional ways to do that as we move through the scholarship process, but we will be looking at numerical grades. So for classes, this is, if most of you, if you are in grade 12 in New Brunswick right now, and you look at your transcripts for last year and this year, you'll see for this year, all the courses say ENR because you're enrolled in them or they're going to come up in the second term. And when we do our March 1st scholarship assessment, we're also in a situation where normally half of those courses still say ENR because you still have them in progress. And what we do here is we always look back to your previous performance in previous courses to indicate your performance there. And so what we're doing is no different than that right now. And we're sort of watching as we go to make sure that students are not shortchanged in any way, and you won't be. So the bottom line to bear in mind for that is early offers. We give you, as Allison mentioned, an early indication of what your scholarship will be. And then your March offer, typically, unless things really change drastically at school, your March offer will be the same or greater. We suspect this year maybe a few offers will be a little smaller in October than they would have been normally, but they're going to catch up by March. Sorry?
A few scholarship offers will be
Sorry,
a little smaller.
yeah, thank you. A few scholarship offers. Bear, just keep in mind the most important thing to know. You will be in April when you get the scholarship package of the people in April's past got, it'll be the same as anyone else's. So hopefully that helps with that.
But I do want to mention this, the thing that I've told students now for years is this is one of the most important semesters of your high school career. This is the semester to really crush it. Work hard, get your grades up, because we will be looking at this semester's grades in March, and it's going to be a great indicator for us for scholarship value. So what Mark said, we're always fair. I mean, students who chose ENR, some of them didn't have a computer because their parents were home working. Some of them don't have the internet. So whether they wanted to take a credit, they may not have been able to. So we understand that, but this semester is important. Work hard. Coast next. No, just don't coast. I hope people have a sense of humor there. Don't coast next semester, but this is one that you should really pull up your socks and work hard for.
And so there is another question in the same line. Academic performance is not necessarily measured by grades or percentage grades. So we talked about scholarships. Are we adjusting the admission criteria in any way?
I mean, it's a hard question. Do you like how I'm struggling? We are a very academic, rigorous university. There is a lot of academic rigor here, and we want to ensure that students are prepared academically to succeed here. Our minimum admissions requirement that we accept is a 65, and I know this year we have been more flexible because students didn't have grades. And what Mark and I were saying earlier is that we'll always try to do our best to get you here. In some situations, it were the classes that Amanda Cockshut mentioned about in the summer to better prepare students for university. We suggested that students take those classes. Listen, we want to ensure that you're ready for this. We encourage you to take this class to better prepare. And that way they were able to get admission. Mark, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that you capture it. I think perhaps the most important thing for anyone watching in New Brunswick to understand is that although we will not necessarily be using that ENR and CR, as we mentioned before, for scholarship consideration, We did for the interim class of 2020. We will for the class of 2021. We will honor the ENR notation and the CR notation as meeting our admission requirements. So if you're just, we're applying a common sense approach to this. We see the transcripts. Honestly, I've been looking at transcripts for the last 2 weeks from New Brunswick. I can look at it this year, I could look at it last year and get the same information out of it. So at the end of the day, we don't really have to adjust our admission criteria too much because all of you, or all of the students, I should say, are still satisfying, who would typically have satisfied our admission criteria are still satisfying them. It's really just trying to get a real feel for where students will end up for their scholarship. That is going to take a little bit more time. And that's just because we don't have as many numbers on the transcript as we did last year. And so for those of you, by the way, if you're not in New Brunswick, you might not understand that, and in the schools in the springtime here, students were not given marks on their transcript as they were in most of the rest of Canada and elsewhere. So assessment of those transcripts is a little bit different for us this year, but actually we've come to discover really not that different at all. Those of you who are poised to succeed will already be demonstrating that on your transcripts already. Or if last year was a little bit unusual, you will still have the opportunity to show that, as Allison mentioned, this term. And let me also just add to that, Allison jokingly says you can coast in the second term.
I don't mean it.
No, she doesn't. But if bear in mind, we're not looking to say no. So if your first semester does not go as well as you hope, and we're not prepared to admit you after your first semester, don't give up. Work hard in your second term because we're going to ask for more marks, and then we're going to look at those. And if you qualify based on those results, then you'll be happy that you worked hard. Also, you'll be happy that you work hard because you have the opportunity to do so and to learn along the way and to prepare yourself for being at Mount Allison. So hopefully that kind of covers. I'll just sort of scroll down here for a quick moment to see, do you accept credits for term 2 last year as numerical grades were only received for first term? So again, we accept the credits and we look for an indicator from other performance and other courses that will tell us, if we know how you did in grade 11 biology, we have a pretty good idea how you might do in grade 12 biology, or even perhaps have some idea how grade 12 chemistry will go, etc. So we will still acknowledge that credit that's there even without the marks. Allison, on the application, students are asked to select the program they're interested in, but that can change, right?
No. Yes, it can. Sorry, I don't know why I do this to everybody. Absolutely. The best part about going to a liberal arts and science university is that you have variety. You get an opportunity to try a variety of programs, find out what you love, and then decide. Students don't have to declare their major minor until the end of second year. And when I say major minor, it doesn't have to be just a major minor. You could choose a double major, you could choose an honors, a triple minor. You have the power. Students can come in as an arts unknown, science unknown, commerce general, try the classes and then decide. The only real challenge is the fine arts and music. You really do have to, again, submit a portfolio or audition for those programs, but even under those programs, there's still a lot of flexibility to try a variety of classes. When I arrived, I came as a science student. I thought science was it. And I got here and somebody asked a question earlier about environmental science, and I took a geography class and life changed. I ended up with an environmental science or environmental studies minor, but it was because I had field trips. I love to get outside of the classroom, and the professors, we had field trips all the time. I got to go to North Carolina to Duke University's Marine Lab in Beaufort. My entire class went. The trip cost $250 per student, flight, accommodation, meals, and we got to do real research. So much to my parents' dismay, I dropped science and switched to arts, and I haven't regretted it for a moment. But I'm grateful that I had the chance to try the classes before really committing. Sorry, that was a really long answer. Everybody's tired. It's like, kid, would you shut up?
Do international students pay the same as Canadian students if they have been studying in Canada for 2 years? Uh,
Only, oh,
and do they
there's
need English requirements? Sorry, go ahead.
It depends. So if you're an international student, you pay international fees. But if you are an international student registered with the Nova Scotia International Student Program or the New Brunswick International Student Program, we have agreements with them. So in Nova Scotia, if you study 1 year at a Nova Scotia high school as an international student, you can come to Mount A and pay your first 2 years of domestic tuition. So you pay the domestic tuition rate, and your English proficiency requirements are waived with 1 year of study in Nova Scotia. New Brunswick is different. We want you to have 2 years of study in New Brunswick High School. And after the 2 years, again, you'll be eligible for the domestic tuition for 2 years. And we'll waive the language requirements if you studied for 2 years in New Brunswick high schools.
Thank you. How does proficiency in a language impact class choice? Is there a placement test? So for our classes in French, German, Spanish, Japanese.
Yes. Yep. So there are placement tests, and however you do on the placement test, that's how they'll assign you to which level.
So I studied some languages here. Spanish, German, and Japanese are designed so that if you, sorry?
Just some.
Just
Sounds
some.
like all of them.
No, I'm not. These aren't all languages I studied. Spanish, German, and Japanese are all designed at Mount Allison, but you can begin them in the first year, as I did with Spanish, with no previous background. So if you have no background, you write no test in those languages and you go into the first year. For French, most students have some background in French because this is Canada, so there is a placement test for everybody who plans to write or to take French, and you will be placed in one of 5 different sort of starting points in the French program, depending on your performance in the placement test. And that all happens before you arrive on campus as well. Admission offers, can they change depending on grade 12 results?
You mean if you do very poorly? Is that
go both ways. If your grade 12 results go up 20 marks or if they go down 20 marks, are there impacts?
I mean, when we look at admissions, though, it depends. So if you've applied for science and you've never taken pre-calculus, you would be offered to the Bachelor of Arts because you don't meet our pre-calculus requirement. If in grade 12 you took the pre-calculus class, did well, we would then be able to switch you into the Bachelor of Science program once we've seen that you have successfully completed the required pre-calculus course. So in that regard, it can change. Scholarships can change, right? So the more when I said study hard this semester, if you do really well this semester, that initial scholarship that you're given on Friday could certainly increase significantly. Mount A historically hasn't been in the business of taking away offers. A lot can happen to a high school student in their final year, and we're quite understanding. If it was a dramatic decrease in grades, we would absolutely have concerns, but it's not like you have to. I don't know how to say this politely, Mark. I'm struggling. We're here to support you. If something's going on and your grades took a big hit, honestly, reach out to an admissions counselor. Let us know what's up. We'll offer support, and we'll be able to find a plan for you for success.
Yes, and we're more, as I mentioned earlier, about saying yes than saying no. So if something happens over the course of your grade 12 year that is so drastic that it would affect, basically, earlier Allison mentioned we need 65% at a bare minimum. So if we see a transcript come in and all of a sudden the results are below 65, one of the reasons hopefully you're thinking about choosing a small school for your undergraduate education is that you can talk to someone when you need to talk to someone about something. So reach out to our office and let us know what happened or talk about it if that's the case. But otherwise, know that the general momentum that we shoot for is for things to get better. And that's one of the big reasons I always encourage students to apply for early admission, is because if your grades are not quite as strong in March as they were last year, unless they really go, we're going to maintain that scholarship offer that we're making on Friday. And so you already have that, you can sort of bank on that. And I think that makes a big difference for you as well. So bear that in mind. A few questions about sort of the open house and relationship to applications, Allison. So do we need to apply now in order to win the residence award for attending the open house?
So not for the award, the residence award. You simply need to register for the event. So any student who's registered for open house and is beginning their studies in September 2021, you will be in the draw for the residence award.
And yep, so if my son has already applied to Mount Allison, not using the promo code, is he still able to participate in Fridays?
Absolutely. And honestly, if you want to email campusvisit@mta.ca, I might be able to help with that too. So campusvisit@mta.ca. Just let me know that your son applied before receiving the promo code. I mean, we don't want to penalize keen students. If your son applied before, like, hey, we're happy and we'll help you.
Do early admissions end this week, or are they ongoing?
Early admissions, honestly, are ongoing until you receive your first set of grades for grade 12. So anytime a student's applying with primarily their grade 11 transcript, that is considered early admissions for us. And it's very different than the US system. Like I mentioned earlier, this isn't a legal contract. You aren't committed to Mount Allison. You have a lot of great universities to choose from in Atlantic Canada, but especially in Atlantic Canada. We have some of the best undergraduate universities that you can find. So there's nothing wrong with applying to different schools and attend sessions like this. Find out if this is your place. Are you going to thrive here academically, socially? There's a lot more to school than just studying. So it's not a legal contract. If you apply early admission, you have the power to decide whether or not you come or not. But an early decision is considered off of grade 11 transcript. I keep going really far away from the answer.
That's okay. So that was my son. Now we'll talk about my daughter. My daughter wants to apply for early admission by this Thursday, but she doesn't have her high school transcript yet. Can she still apply?
She can apply, but she won't be eligible to get the offer on Friday. So we do need a transcript to see, but again, that transcript doesn't have to be official. So a lot of high schools have student portals that you can go and take a screenshot of the most recent grades. We'll accept that. If she can get an unofficial copy from her teacher, guidance counselor, admin staff, we will accept that as well. There's nothing wrong with applying without a transcript just yet. As long as it comes, she'll still get an offer. She'll just miss out on a Zoom call with an admissions counselor on Friday.
And bear in mind as well, I think sometimes we hear the word transcript and we think it must be a transcript. Like we want to see your most recent document. So if it's a report card, we like the transcript because sometimes the transcript has things for, some students will take an upper year course in the grade 10 year and that gets lost on the report card. But the report card is a report of your marks. So if that's the last thing you have, send that to us. Everybody who's completed 11th grade has something to send to us somewhere at home.
Again, if it is a report card, just be sure, like what I mentioned with the Ontario students, on the tell us about yourself, indicate what classes you're taking this year. Because a report card often won't indicate what your classes will be in your senior year. So just tell us, and when we're reviewing your application, we'll match up that information. Sorry, I've got hands floating and disappear.
If a student doesn't make the early application deadline, then how would the admissions decisions be communicated after Friday?
Always with a letter and always by email. So every student will receive an official email once they've been accepted, and that has their student ID, and it allows them to create their Mount Allison email address, which is really important. We're going to send a lot of vital information to that Mount A email address. So if you're accepted, keep an eye on that. But we always follow it up with an admissions package. So you get a real letter, a lot of information about residents and kind of what your next steps will be. We are notorious for having beautiful offer letters. We want it to be special, or at least I love that it's special. It's an exciting time. So there will be a letter in the mail as well as email.
And then I have a question from Jolene who says, is it better to take your time to do the application properly, since the info will be used for scholarships, than to rush and get it done by Thursday's deadline? Is the $50 fee waived until the end of October? And what is the benefit of getting the application in by Thursday?
Oh, you clever girl. I love this. It is a personal preference. So the promo code does exist until October 31st. I believe it's midnight on Halloween. So you have time to submit your application. But what Liz, the financial aid officer, said was, when you submit it, it is submitted. So honestly, I think you should put as much time into your application as you feel is required. If you don't feel that you can answer every question in detail by Thursday, I would wait to submit it. I don't know if that's the right answer to say, but honestly, that's what we're going to be using for your scholarship stuff. And for scholarships too, like, be detailed. If you had this is a plug on the side, but to make as much money as possible, free money is the best kind of money any student can get. A lot of students don't go into detail on their application, and we meet amazing students. We hear everything they're involved with, and then we see their application, and it's like, oh, I wish they had to just told us. If you have a summer job, indicate that job as a summer job. If you have a job during the academic year, separate it. Don't just lump even if it's the same job, don't just lump it under one field. Is that, Mark, you're kind of smirking at me, but
No, it's exactly right. I was trying to picture what the application looks like at that point.
And often, like, we try to look into it. So if you are on your volleyball team, or say you coach a middle school volleyball team, that is a leadership role. A lot of students don't see that as a leadership role, but indicate that you volunteer to teach. So that's volunteerism, to teach a middle school volleyball class. That's a leadership. It's an extracurricular. Like, there's a lot of ways that we can look at your involvements. And again, with COVID, a lot of things are canceled. So be detailed. I don't know if you're checking the chat, Mark, but there is a person that indicated an award in grade 10. Tell us. Honestly, we try to look at grade 11 and grade 12, but if you earned a great award in grade 10, what's the worst thing? You give us too much information. We will never look at an application like, oh, the student gave us too much. No, we pine for that. We want the details. Tell us.
Great, thank you. I know when I saw the word rush in that question, that was the first thing that it's like, it's October. There should rarely be reason around here to be rushing.
No.
So I think Allison touches on why you don't really need to rush.
The only thing that I will mention about the rushing, the only caveat is if you have a very specific house that you want to live in. So Windsor Hall has recently, I know, Mark,
I'll follow, don't worry.
I know, has recently been renovated, and it is stunning. The rooms are huge, the furniture's new, it is beautiful. Last year, of our entire incoming class, there were only 26 students that didn't request Windsor. 26 students of the entire incoming class. The students that got a spot in Windsor were students who applied early and paid their registration deposit early. That deposit will give you priority for the room draw. Now, the bigger conversation that I know Mark is wanting to have is that just because Windsor is new doesn't mean it's the best house for you. Obviously, we have an amazing resident system here, and Windsor may not be right for you. But if you are tied to having a private bathroom, you should apply early and pay that registration deposit early. Or if you want a very specific room type, there is an advantage to submit that application early.
But if you're ready for an adventure, all the rooms are great, so don't worry about it. So yeah, and right, like that private bathroom, that was a good argument. You know, if you wanted a private bathroom, we have only so many, so yes, move along. But otherwise,
Again,
rest assured, I say this from a place of having applied quite late in the cycle and having been very pleased with my assignment, which was not Windsor and not glorious. And Windsor is a glorious place to live, but my building really, and this is what happens, it becomes about the people. And every residence has great people in it, so don't worry about where you end up. But if you have specific preferences, Allison has given you the
the
keys.
only, and I think if you view the residence tour tomorrow, there's like, there's a lot of desire with first year students to have a private room and a private bathroom. Oh, I never shared. I want my own space. I want to know that I can close the door. Forget it. Get over it. I know I shouldn't say that, but I lived in Hunton House for 2 years, and aesthetically, it's one of the ugliest houses on campus. I could lie in my single bed, reach out with my hand, and if my roommate did the same, we could hold hands, not touch fingers. Like, the room was small. I wouldn't change it in the world. I wouldn't have changed it. And I was, this is too much information, a huge tomboy when I came to Mount A. I had no formal wear, and this is too much information, I know, but I was so grateful that I had bathrooms that were in the center of the house, because when Sac Vegas happened, when Homecoming happened, when all of these, like the ASCRs, which is like the Mount A Oscars, when those events happen, I got to get ready with all the girls on my floor that would help a tomboy out. So I got a lot of great dresses and makeup and hair done, which I was very grateful for.
I hosted meet and greets for the various residences this summer and heard some very impassioned defenses of the joys of shared bathrooms. Actually, people really love the shared bathrooms in those residences that have them, and sort of said that they were often like a social hub in some ways. So there are benefits, like a lot of things that oh, this isn't exactly what I wanted. You will end up seeing the joys of what it can be, but also, if you're quick on your feet here in October, you might get exactly what you want. Yeah. So, Allison, there's a question here from Julia, and we kind of touched on this before, but just to be clear, if we're not accepted on Friday, is that the final decision, or you reconsider?
Always reconsider, always. So and I mean, there will be, this happens every year, much to my dismay, but a lot of times transcripts will come in just a little late, and we may not have the offer processed for Friday morning. It is never the end. Always reach out to the admissions team. You can email admissions@mta.ca, or you can view our profiles on the website. Basically, all of our emails, like I am Allison@mta.ca. Mark is Mark@mta.ca. Sarah, Curtis, Sorab, Sonia. It's our first Izzy. It's our first name @mta.ca. And if you have any concerns, reach out. We're here to help, and it's not too late if you miss the deadline.
All right. If you're given an acceptance offer, what is the deadline to provide your answer? And is paying the $100 how you accept? And what happens if you change your mind after?
So the $100 is how you accept the offer. That deposit is due typically the first Friday in May. That is the deadline to have a deadline to make a decision whether you're choosing Mount A. Again, it isn't a legal contract, so if you pay the $100 and you get a full scholarship at another university and decide, you simply lose the $100, or $250 if you're an international student. You simply forfeit the deposit. But we have a great thing here where students that, again, I'm going back to the March 1st deadline. If you apply and are accepted, you pay your registration deposit, your $500 housing deposit, and you submit a residence application by March 1st. April 1st is where you find out everything. You get your financial aid package in the mail to know if you've earned scholarships, bursaries, or awards, but you also get your early bird room draw. So you know exactly what house you're in, what room you have. If you have a roommate, you even get their contact information. So you'll know you're living with Sarah from Calgary. You get that in April. The deposit deadline, like I said, is the first Friday in May, but you have a month to look at that. If you decide that Mount A isn't right for you, or you want to take a gap year and come back next year, the $100 or $250 is lost, but that $500 housing deposit is refundable by the first Friday in May. We don't want to pressure students to make a decision. You should have all your information up front so you can make an informed decision.
Thank you. Chris asked if we're submitting grades right now as a grade 11 only. And so, so if I understand correctly, if you're just starting grade 12 and you have no grades from grade 12 yet, it's grade 11. So
we don't want your it's hard. We don't want your like October, November grades. We want what we consider grade 12 mid-year grades are the ones that come after your exams in January. And again, depending on which province and what hierarchy, we want the mid-year grades, the end of semester grades for scholarships.
We essentially, from every student, including those who are applying for early admission, we will again ask for the last transcript, the last report you get before March 1st. So if you're in a school that doesn't use semesters and you take the same classes all year long, we'll be looking for your partial results that you get after your Christmas exams, if you have Christmas exams or something. But the last report card or the last version of your transcript that's available before March 1st is the one that we want to see. Can you talk briefly about AP credit?
Yeah. So any student that's challenging AP, which stands for Advanced Placement, they're basically university level classes that you can take in high school. If you score 4 and above, you are eligible, I'm like disappearing, sorry, you're eligible for transfer credits. So how it works is your transcript would typically indicate that you're taking advanced placement or IB classes, so the International Baccalaureate. We would identify that. We'd see that you're challenging harder academic work, and we typically give a small reward on our scholarship review for that. And then once your grades come out, with AP, it's typically the start of July, and for IB, it's normally the end of July. We would do a transfer credit evaluation. So again, AP are grades that are 4 and 5, and IB is any grade over 5. You're eligible for transfer credits, and you can transfer up to 30 credits, which is a full year at Mount A. And if you earn transfer credits, you get to decide how you use them. So for instance, if you took psychology, AP Psych, and we gave you our intro psych, you may decide, oh, I'd love psych. I can't wait to take the second year psych. I'm going to use that prerequisite, that transfer credit as the prereq, and take the higher level psychology. You can totally do that. Other students, may be nervous about the transition from high school to university, their first time away from home. They may choose to take that credit that they have already earned again, so that they can have an easier transition to high school. They've already learned the content. It'll just maybe help that first semester of school to kind of ease into it. But it's your call. If you earn credits, you get to decide.
And a quick follow-up that Allison mentioned, over 5 gets you IB credit. To be, just so you're clear, it includes 5 as well. So if anyone's out there sitting on a bunch of 5s, those are good too. So 5, 6, and 7, we're all good for IB transfer credit. Allison, are scholarships available for American students or only Canadian students?
We don't care where you're from. Mark, are you okay?
No, sorry, I'm reading another question I didn't see.
Honestly, we look at all of our students the same. So it doesn't matter if you're Canadian, American, international. If you are a strong student, if you're involved in your community, if you have extracurriculars, you are going to be eligible for scholarships. We don't look at international, domestic any differently.
Perfect. And sorry, I was reading the follow-up to this previous question. So the one is that if we don't apply for admission on Friday, when is the second round of admission acceptances sent out?
Admissions is rolling. So our admissions application opened October 1st. We typically have a 2-week turnaround to get an admissions decision into the hands of the student. We have been holding it all of our applications from October 1st, we have been holding for this event. But if you're applying after Friday or after Thursday, you'll typically find out within a week or two if you've been accepted. We want to have a quick turnaround. We want to get that offer in your hand.
So basically, if you, you know, as we mentioned earlier, some students might apply for early admission this week and not be offered. We just say, when you get a document, send it to us. When we see the document arrive, we read the file. If we're good to go, we make the offer. If we're not, send us the next document. So it is, there are no fixed dates other than the final round of scholarship adjudications that take place in March for the April release of that information. Question here is from Leslie as well. What happens if you've already taken 2 grade 12 courses before this grade 12 year?
That's great. We love that. That means, again, that you're challenging harder work. So we would use those grade 12 credits towards your overall admission review if they benefit you. So we're always trying to look at the grades to the best advantage of the student. But if you've earned 2 grade 12 credits, that's wonderful. We'd love to see them.
And that gives you more, since we're only looking for, you know, depending on where you're applying, from 4 or 5 courses per student. If you already have 2 in the bank from last year and you're taking 5 or 6 or 7, whatever number this year, it gives you more flexibility in terms of which ones you might be able to apply to your admission as well. Another question, are offers conditional on grade 12 results if you apply early?
Yes. I mean, you still have to graduate. You have to successfully graduate, and you do still have to successfully meet the admission requirements. So if we look at your grade 11 transcript and everything is wonderful and we make an offer, and then you decide to drop your grade 12 English, which means that you no longer meet the requirements for graduation or our English requirement, we would definitely have concern for that. But it's not very common a situation like that comes up.
Great. And I don't know if this question was asked before, we sort of touched on it earlier, but just briefly, if we change our mind on the subject we want to study from, say, biology to drama, how easy is it to do that?
Very easy. Honestly, once you're a student, you get a Connect account, and that's where a lot of your courses are kept. If you're a student worker, that's where you put your hours in to get paid. That's where your T4 or your T2102, like the tax receipt that you need for your studies, is housed. But through there, you can do a request of confirmation of enrollment if you need something for your bank to show you're a student. But you can also do a request for program change or request for degree change there. And there's only a few changes that are a bit more challenging. And that would be if you were an art student looking to change into science, having never taken pre-calculus in high school or calculus at Mount A. Students in the Bachelor of Arts switching to science, or commerce, music, fine arts, switching into science, they have to have earned 24 credits at the university. They have to be in good academic standing, and there are required classes that they have to complete, one of them being calculus. But generally, it's very, very easy. And the registrar's office will send you a notification close to the end of your second year to declare. But if you're a biology student, you can register in all arts classes. Like, you don't have to register in science. And if you're an art student, you can say you love chemistry, take chemistry. You're not limited to just study the arts as an art student.
Great. Should we still add the courses that we're planning to take in the Tell Me About Yourself section, even if we're at the character max?
Ooh, do you know what I would do? And I would put your Tell Us About Yourself in a Word doc and upload it as another document. So once you submit your application, even if you put on your Tell Us About Yourself, too large, added as Word doc, and these are my classes, once you submit your application, the page refreshes. And a lot of students don't know this. They get to the end of the app and they think, oh, I have to upload my transcript. This is the only time. Submit it, wait 5 minutes, and all of the supplemental items that are required will reappear. So if you want to be considered for the Bell, you will have 3 reference letters that show up and an essay. If you are a transfer credit student and you hit submit, what will happen is it will populate the universities that you attended. So if we need a transcript from, if you went to UMB and Dow, it would say that we need 2 post-secondary transcripts as well as a high school transcript. So the system is really quite savvy. Once you submit, it will resort what's required of you. And if you are close to that 3,000 limit, put it on a Word doc and upload it as another document. There's one kind of general supplemental item called other doc that you could attach it to. But just let us know that you're doing that.
And likewise, any student can put their grade 12 courses in a list in a Word document or any kind of document,
absolutely,
and upload it to other documents as well.
Yep.
Sometimes if you don't send us one and we want one, we'll actually put the grade 12 course list on the thing and send it back to you. But that other documents there is there for you to share anything else that you need to share with us along the way. Mauricio asked, is there an admission exam to get accepted in the university? No, only for English proficiency for international students, of course, but we do not have admission tests for.
And I might just add that we don't require the SAT or ACTs, but if you've taken the time to write the test, we would love to know. It's a lot of work to prepare for the SATs and ACTs, and we value the work that goes into preparing for them. So on your application, you can identify if you've taken the time to write those. Again, it's not required. One thing that I was going to mention earlier too, when we were talking about the application, and I forgot, Liz had brought it up, but we do ask a lot of goofy questions at the bottom of our application. And I just want to explain that. So we have donors that have provided us money to match with a certain type of student. And as a university, we do our best to honor their wishes. So on the bottom of the application, you'll see if you're a student from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, or Prince Edward Island, from the United Church, who is a non-smoker, you can select that. There's an award that somebody, a bursary or an award that a donor has given us, and they want to give it to somebody who is from those places, who's a non-smoker and who attends a United Church. That isn't us. That's their wishes. There's a question if you want to pursue medicine, if you want to pursue veterinary science, if you have a family member who is a veteran, a U.S. veteran, there is a ton of funding available for students. So when you get to that, think, why does Mount A want this? It's because we're trying to honor our donors' wishes and matching their money with a student.
Great.
My lights went out again.
I think so. I think it's almost lights out for us. I see though that most of the remaining questions here. Actually, here's one quick one. How does requesting a roommate work if you have someone in mind, even if you apply at different times?
That's okay. So if when you're filling out your residence application, so if Mark and I wanted to live together, we'd have to be identified as the same gender. But if I put Mark's name on the residence application and he put my name, we would be paired together, regardless of when we filled out the application. And I must say, some students have gotten very lucky in that regard, where one student applied early, paid the deposit early, asked for a double in a very desirable house, and they put their friend down as the roommate, and they applied late, and it still worked out. But if Mark was to put my name and I didn't put his name, we would not be matched, because we don't know what situation that is. We don't know if somebody's following you from your hometown, whatever the case. So you would both mutually have to request one another.
Great. So I see a few more questions here, but we're mostly questions about academics. So I'm going to read Noreena's question, which is, and if you can sort of point us toward what's going to happen after tonight. So I have a lot of questions about the Bachelor of Music program, or if you're someone else, Bachelor of program. Is there a special chat session with the head of the department or faculty to get info on admissions, auditions, pretest fees, residents, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, yes, yes. So on Thursday, that is our academic and student support day at, let me think, at 6 p.m. we're launching all of the academic videos. So each, for music, for instance, there's 6 questions that the head of the music department answers, and they are very informative. Arts, science, music, commerce, and fine arts have also answered the same 6 questions. They have really thoughtful videos, and that will be on the open house website, so you can watch at 6 p.m. At 7 p.m., there will be live Zoom calls. So similar to this, but it'll be hosted by Dr. Kevin Morse, the head of the music department, Professor Eric Edson, head of fine arts, Dr. Amanda Cockshut for science, Dr. Vicky St. Pierre for the Bachelor of Arts, and Dr. Naman Faruqi for commerce. And in each session, they'll have a variety of faculty with them and current students. So you don't have to just get it from the profs, you can get it from the current students as well. But tomorrow is our student experience day, and if you are on Instagram, you should follow MTA_admission, because our campus ambassadors have worked really hard at making a ton of very helpful videos about the programs they study, how they get academic support, what clubs and societies they're involved with, and it will be a great spot for you to check out.
What's that Instagram handle again?
MTA_admissions. And the links are all on the emails that go out every day. So tomorrow at 9 a.m., everybody will be receiving like a day 2 email that highlights all the fun stuff to attend. And if you have friends that can't find the email, we've discovered that if you have a Gmail account, the emails are going under the promotion folder. So if you have a friend that's like, I registered, but I didn't get it, tell them to check promotion. It sucks, but we can't fix it for now.
And if someone wants to go to that Thursday session, but they are not available, will they be recorded?
It will. So the 6 p.m. Videos that are already produced will live on the site. And then next week, the academic sessions with the faculty will be uploaded to the open house website.
Great. Mauricio, I missed your question as well. Recruitment and athletics. Any of our coaches would love to hear from talented athletes. MountyPride.ca is our athletics website.
And on Thursday at 3:30 Atlantic Standard Time, we're having a student support fair, and Pierre Arsenault, the director of athletics at Mount A, will be there in a breakout room, so you could always ask him direct questions as well.
And if someone wanted to know, because I'm not sure if Allison or I know how efficient our internet speeds are, is there a session for that?
No, I don't believe there is. But we are the first university in North America to have the entire campus be wireless, Wi-Fi internet. We are the first. I think it happened in 2003. We were the
Benefits
first
of being
one.
a relatively small campus.
So we do pride ourselves in high-speed internet, but there isn't a session given to that. But you could always email helpdesk@mta.ca, and I'm sure they get back to you. So helpdesk.
That's a great address to have when you're a student here.
Yeah.
For any problem you have with anything computing related, help desk. It's very helpful. So I see some more questions, as I mentioned, about math, commerce, aviation, music. So Allison's told you about the sessions where you'll be able to get more detailed information than either one of us can provide to you. So with that, I do want to take an opportunity. Thank you for sticking around, Allison, to answer all these questions.
Thanks for you sticking around. This is great.
And as Allison mentioned, I'll just pop in the chat here. We're very easy to find if you have more questions after tonight. I didn't actually know that you had Allison at mta.ca. I wasn't sure if you did or not.
I'm normally A-ball.
Yeah. And please reach out to us to be connected with any information that you need about Mount Allison or about the open house this week. We're here to help. And we're just excited that you're also interested and here joining us. And that many of you, it appears, are still here 2 hours into our 1 hour session. So
can I ask one question before they go?
Yeah.
Is there a raise hand feature for this or no? I don't think there is.
There is, are we,
Oh,
yeah.
somebody just
There
did it.
absolutely-
Yay!
Yes.
I was curious if you guys received your Mount A swag in the mail now. So my student staff and I have been putting together tons of really great packages for you. Whether you requested a bucket hat or a face mask or a fanny pack, they are in the mail now, headed towards you. Headed to you. So are there 3 students that have already received their packages?
4 and
4.
counting. 5.
And were the packages exciting? Were you happy to get them?
If you did not think your package was exciting, put your hand down. Oh, the hands are going back up.
Thank you. I'm sorry. This open house has been a long time coming, and we have been trying so hard. Like, our open house is an experience, and this is the first online house. And I wanted to make sure students still got to have something that they can feel. I hope you listen to the Apple Play music list of the Mount A memories. I hope you enjoy the packages and the whole event. I'm so excited that you attended tonight, and I will probably see you at other events this week, hopefully.
And hopefully we'll see you here on campus with your own 2 feet.
That'd be
In the
exciting.
not too distant future as well. So
For
thank
1
you so
foot
much.
or no feet, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's lots of ways to go about it.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a really fantastic time for me, at least tonight, and hopefully for all of you who are attending, because you're the ones who matter. So thanks again. We're at your service. We look forward to joining you for more events later on. We'll be getting tomorrow through the rest of this week and well after that too. So have a wonderful night or morning or day or whatever time it is where you are right now. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.